This might be my worst reading month. Hello guys, welcome back to another reading wrap up. As you can tell by the title, I'm gonna be going over the books I read in the month of July. I did not read a lot, so in total I read 4 physical books and 1 on my Kindle. I don't know what happened this month. Every month I feel like I'm doing worse and worse with books. I don't know what happened. I guess I just got busy with a lot of things. I've been doing my preceptorship, been very busy with that. I'm following a nurse's full-time schedule. I also went to go see my parents like last week. There should be a vlog of that going up, I think around the same time as this video or a little bit later. Yesterday my family showed up just because. They just showed up at my front door and I was like, oh, you guys are here, and they just left like a couple hours ago, and I'm just so sad because you know the feeling of being around people you love and then they leave and you're just left kind of being there. That's how I feel. I just don't like the one being left behind, if that makes sense. I'd rather do the leaving. Anyways, like I said, I read 5 books in the month of July. 4 of them are physical and 1 is on my Kindle. So let's go ahead and go through them and tell you guys my thoughts and my ratings of these books. The first book I read in the month of July is A Legendary, which is the second book in the Caraval series. And let's just say, look how beautiful this cover is. Like, isn't it just magnificent? Everything about it. The pages are beautiful as well. Like, how pretty is that? If you don't already know, the Caraval series is about 2 sisters who go and play in this magical show that is led by this guy named Legend. This particular show is like an invite-only magical experience. You can either choose to watch or play, and the sisters, Donatella and Scarlet, choose the more fun way of taking part of the show by playing in the show. And in the first book, everyone says, don't get too carried away. It's all magic. Nothing's real, so don't get carried away, because I believe some people do get carried away and go a little bit cuckoo. In the first book, they end up playing a game and it's in Scarlet's point of view, the older sister, but this book is in Donatella's point of view, who's the younger sister. She decides to play. This one is, I feel like, more high stakes than the first one. This one, they didn't really say don't believe everything you see or feel, nothing's true. Like, it's more crossing the boundaries of is it real or is it fake? You know, like, it's kind of affects their life. Lots of things happen. I feel like this book was just more things going on in this book, just more intriguing, and the romance in here, love it more than the first one. I gave this book a 4.5 stars. If you haven't read these books and you're thinking about it, the audiobooks are amazing. There's a lot of sound effects and it's like spatial audio. It just feels like you're in that magical world with the characters, because I listened to this while I was taking a nature walk and it just was so amazing. The next book I read was Ward D by Freida McFadden, and let me tell you, this book was pretty intriguing and interesting. I actually read this during a few of my night shifts with my nurse. It was interesting because some things that happened kind of aligned with things that happened during those night shifts that I read this book. Like, it was creepy. And this book is like any other of Freida McFadden's books. You think you know what's gonna happen, you know where the plot twists are, you know the characters, but no. It was not like that. I was shocked. I didn't expect those plot twists. I was looking more on the main characters because that's how usually it is with some of her books. But I was shocked the amount of plot twists it has. If you don't already know, this book is about a medical student named Amy Brenner who's spending the night on a locked psychiatric unit called Ward D, and she's very like scared and nervous and anxious about it because one, she's spending it with her ex-boyfriend who wants to get back together with her, and 2, she has like a past of psychiatric illnesses herself and her best friend as well, and she's just a little bit iffy. And this whole book takes place in one night. There was like so much red flags everywhere. There was one character that I didn't even suspect which was my mistake. Like, I was gagged. I did not see that coming. I gave this a 4 stars. It was intriguing. It was fast-paced. So much happening. Amy, we're in her point of view this whole book, and she's like seeing things and whatever, and the people around her aren't. And I was like so convinced she was crazy as well. That's all I'm gonna say. But it was so good. Like, if you want a little spooky read at night, definitely recommend that. If you're in healthcare and you need a book to read, maybe don't read it during the night. But if you're into that, then go ahead. There were some instances where it lined up with what was happening. Like, one of the scenes where that there was this patient who had dementia and was sundowning. If you don't know what sundowning is, it's I think in simpler words that they're agitated late at night. And I got a patient late at night from Emerge who was diagnosed with dementia and was sundowning, and I heard her over the phone just yelling at everyone, and I had her the whole night. I was preoccupied for the whole night. And then that same night there was an older lady who came in looking like confused and frustrated. She was able to give me her last name so I can look her up on the computer, and it turns out she was from a locked unit. She wasn't agitated or anything, she just looked worried and was just trying to find her way back. There was also later in the night a 3 patient who I got from Emerge was in the corner, and I was doing my nightly rounds looking to see if everyone's still alive, everyone's still breathing. She was in the corner. She just started chasing me, and tell me why I ran back to my nurse. Like, I don't know why I was so scared. So maybe reading this book was not a great idea for me in the middle of the night. The next few books that I'm going to talk about are from a reading vlog that I just did. I uploaded it last week. If you haven't seen it, definitely go watch it. I'll put it up here. It's a summer reading vlog where I read popular summer romance books that were like very anticipated reads for me. First one that I read was Beach Read by Emily Henry, and this book did not disappoint. I gave it a 6 stars. If you don't already know, this book is about Augustus and January. It is in January's point of view. It starts off kind of rough because it's talking about the problems she has in life about her father. She inherits a lake house and she's not particularly happy to be there, but she's staying there because one, she's struggling in life because of the things she's going through, and 2, she is an author struggling to write a book and is also broke. So she stays there. She's planning to finish this book a month's time, but then she meets the neighbor. The neighbor is Augustus Everett, who is also an author. He writes literary fiction, so very different from hers. She writes romance books. They figure out that they're both in a writer's block and comes up with this deal of switching genres. So Augustus is basically gonna write a romance book and January is gonna write a literary fiction. With this deal, they agreed to give each other lessons about how they get inspired for writing their books. And Augustus is at the time interviewing people who were part of a cult who basically committed suicide. So like, if you're familiar with like the Kool-Aid cult, I don't know what it is. I'll put like a picture of it here. But it's basically like a very popular cult led by this guy who convinced everyone to drink something to basically sacrifice everyone. So it was like a mass suicide kind of thing. And he's interviewing people who were in that, who got away, or who knew people who were in that. And it's very just like a heavy topic. But on the other side, January writes romance, so she takes Augustus on like little cute dates, like going a drive-in date, going to the carnival, all of those things. And you know what happens then, they start developing feelings for each other. But this book is not just like a cutesy little romance like that. It also talks about grief, loss, and just like personal growth. I mentioned in the video that I filmed that I think the main message of this was that you can find healing and just love in unexpected places, because they didn't intend to meet each other and like feel the sense of safety and connection with each other. I feel like they're both going through a lot in their personal lives. Definitely January and Augustus, a lot is going on in his life as well, and just like being with each other was a safe place for them to kind of let out their feelings, feel what they're feeling, and just talk about what is happening. I feel like I'm yapping and getting off topic, but this book literally has a special place in my heart. It is so much more than a romance, and if you haven't read it, you should read it. I'm definitely gonna reread this and annotate, because Emily Henry's writing, I don't know how she does it. The next book I read was Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I also love this book. Highly raved about on the internet. This book is a second chance romance. Percy's parents decide to buy a lake cottage in this rural town, and she ends up meeting Sam and Charlie, who live next door. Sam and Charlie are brothers, and Sam is the younger brother who is the love interest in this book. They started off hanging out, and from there they are basically inseparable. They spend every day of summer together. Percy looks forward to seeing him every summer, and they end up developing feelings for each other where they can't keep their hands off each other until something happens which breaks them apart. Fast forward to the present day. They're both in their 30s, graduated from college, and has their own careers now. Something happens in that small rural town that brings Percy back there, and she once again meets Sam, older Sam, who she describes as a lot harder version of younger Sam. And once they meet, you can tell there is a connection there. It's like undeniably there. There's a spark, and she just works out the courage to talk to him about what happened in the past, and she doesn't know if she can fix it or not. Is it too late for them? Don't know. But this book I rated a 6 star. I read this at the beach, and it was just the perfect beach read. And the last book I read this month, it's actually a reread. I read this every summer, and that is The Summer Turned Pretty. This book is just so nostalgic. It's August 1st, and I woke up to playing August by Taylor Swift, and that song just reminds me so much of this book because I think they play it in the show. The show is also so amazing. I love it. I watched it while reading this book. If you don't already know what this book is about, it's about Belly. She spends summer at the Cousins Beach House every summer since she was born. The Cousins Beach House is owned by Susanna Fisher, who is her mom's best friend, and Susanna has 2 sons named Conrad and Jeremiah. I just like to say I'm team Conrad, but like that last season, that last episode kind of got me like thinking of switching, but no, I'm gonna stay loyal to Conrad. Anyways, Belly comes back to Cousins Beach all matured and grown up. Not really matured and grown up, like she just has blossomed into this beautiful young woman. She thinks the summer will be different. She has had a crush on Conrad for the longest time, and she thinks that Conrad's gonna finally notice her. But then a turn of events where she questions if she should continue going for Conrad or Jeremiah. I think you get the gist of it. It's like a love triangle romance and very summery. It's taking place at a summer beach house, and every time I read this I feel like I'm there with them. I wish I was. Anyways, I feel like I explained that really badly. I feel like I'm just yapping and yapping along. I'm so sorry. Sometimes I can't keep my mouth shut. Sometimes I have nothing to say. Don't you just feel that sometimes? I don't know. Anyways, gave this a 5 star. Not really like a 6 star for me now, because I feel like I've read it again and again and picked out the little things I don't like. There's not necessarily things I don't like in this book by itself. It's just like there's so many differences that I found with the show. A lot of the major conflicts in this was not really portrayed as a big conflict in the show. Here I feel like everyone knew what the conflict was except for the main character. There were some differences, like the debutante thing was not in this book. There's nothing like that in the book. In this book I felt like they were a little bit younger and less mature, but I still loved it. I love this book and I love that show. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this short-ish videos. I don't know if it's gonna be short because I talk so much, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment below what team you are. I'd like to know what team you guys are on for The Summer Turned Pretty, either Team Conrad, Team Jeremiah. I won't judge if you're Team Jeremiah, because there's times where I was like, Jeremiah's kind of giving. Anyways, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and maybe subscribe down below. Check out my new reading vlog that I posted last week, and I hope I see you in another video.